Hello friends, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, back with another STAMPtember video. This one using the limited edition Mama Elephant Gnomie Holidays stamp set. So cute. But before I get to the stamp set, I wanted to create my background first. So I have a piece of Simon's smooth white cardstock, and I'm just working on my Waffle Flower mini water media mat, and I have salvaged patina, shaded lilac, and dusty CONCORD distress oxide inks, and I'm just using my little ink stands to hold them in place, and then my blending brushes. And I've sped this up in editing, but this still didn't take very long. I was doing very light blending, like I wasn't picking up a lot of ink on the brushes and I wasn't pressing very hard, and I'm not worried about getting a really good blend because I'm going to be adding some water splatter and other splatter and texture. So I did my blending, and then I added water because distress oxides are reactive with water. On top of Simon's cardstock, you don't get quite as a obvious splatter. If you do ink blending on like distress watercolor paper or distress heavy stock, those sorts of things, it's a totally different look. And that's why you experiment with the cardstock you have, try different things, see what works. But I still got, a little bit of texture with the water. And then I pulled out my press and seal, which I'll get to in a second. Just needed a little small square of that. And I just got the new holiday distress collection, the limited edition one with the mica spray stains. Yes. I will get to those in a future video. But I pulled out the Snowfall grit paste. This stuff is fun. It's translucent grit paste basically with rock candy glitter in it. So you can technically make your own with this. But I've got the little container of it, and I'm using Simon's Falling Snow stencil. This came out years ago. I've had this for years. I love it. It's one of my favorites. And I just used a couple pieces of tape just to hold the stencil in place so I can apply this Snowfall paste on top of it. Now, because it is translucent, it's subtle, but that's kind of what I was going for because I'm going to be adding, the cute little characters and all the different things. So this is what I want. And it's hard to show it on video, but I was so happy with it. It really does look like real snowfall. So I applied it. I scrape the excess back in the container, and that's where I put my little press and seal. I do this on all my paste jars, especially glitter paste, grit paste, etc. I seal them with that piece of press and seal. It keeps them from drying out. I've talked about that in a ton of videos, but if you haven't seen them, just trust me. Huge. It saves so much because the jars I didn't put press and seal on, they've dried out. Anyway, let that whole background dry. Now the stamps. So like I said, this is the limited edition Mama Elephant STAMPtember set. I will have a link to the set, as well as a link to the set with the wafer dies. These, no matter how many they have in stock, they sell out insanely quickly because, hello, it's Mama Elephant and it's adorable. And this year it's gnomes. I got the mini gnome agenda. I think that was released last year. I know Mama Elephant's coming out with more gnome sets. I think it's a little girl gnome agenda or something, and then there's another holiday one coming out, and it's like a pile of gnomes in the shape of a Christmas tree. I've said this. I don't do a lot of videos with Mama Elephant, but if you guys saw, I pretty much collect everything Mama Elephant. I have just a massive amount. They're a wonderful company, and their images are adorable, and I've been obsessed with them for years. They're so cute. But anywho, I stamped the images onto another piece of Simon's 120-pound white cardstock with intense black ink. And then I colored all the images in with Copic markers. And again, speeded this up in editing. I do not color this fast at all. Sometimes I wish I did. But at the same time, coloring is it's therapeutic. So I went with colors to go with my background, along with the neutrals, like little skin tones and hair and whatnot. And then I brought in this green combo that I really love. There's just something about this shade of green that just makes me really happy. It's just YG 99, 97, and 95. And I need to use this. It's funny sometimes. I've been coloring with Copics for 15 plus years now. I forget how long it's been. And you know, you just every once in a while just pick out a combo or come across a combo and it's like, ooh, I really like that. So added that green in there. And then everything else was more to kind of go with the backgrounds, just light purples, aquas, fun things like that, of course. I was originally going to do much more traditional colors with these, you know, like your red, green, typical Christmas. But then, I don't know, just something in me was like, I want to do purple. So yeah, and these little Gnomies, it doesn't matter how you color them, like they're just adorable. I was so excited when I saw this set and I'm like, ooh, this one's gonna be popular. So anyway, did all my little coloring and again, all my coloring, generally I do darkest to lightest. It's just a speed thing, not just the editing, but in real life. Because again, I've been doing it for so long that I go darkest to lightest. But if you struggle with Copic coloring or coloring with alcohol markers, also that sort of thing, going from lightest to darkest with your blends gives you much more control. It's a lot easier to add darker color than it is, it's technically impossible. It can be done, but it's difficult to take away. So if you add too much dark, etc. So yeah, it's another one of those things, or do as I say and not as I do. So anywho, after I finished all my coloring, I added, you know, little dots and random highlights. Again, not following any sort of like light source. I just add them wherever, technically. Generally in my head, my light source is always coming from the upper right. I don't know why. That's just where it is. That's where the sun is located in my mind when it comes to coloring. So I added my little highlights. I did fussy cut all those images. I don't have the coordinating die set. If I had it, I would have just die cut everything. STAMPtember is pretty much the one time a year that I will do a fair bit of fussy cutting, just cause. But anywho, I did all the cutting and then I pulled out the Mama Elephant tree branch steel wafer die set and die cut that twice. One from gray cardstock and one from white. And because I was originally just going to stack it with gray cardstock, and then I was like, oh, if I cut it from white and offset it just a little bit, it'll make the branches pop out a little bit more and, you know, it'll just work. So that's what I did. So I did a little bit of editing on the white piece to remove a little bit of the frame from the top and bottom, because otherwise it would pop out and just look weird. And then I'm just using my craft tacky glue to layer both of these pieces together. And like I said, I will offset them just a little bit so that the white layer just pops out a little bit on the branches above the gray. So it just, again, it gives that just a little something, you know, but it also gives a little bit extra dimension to this frame before I adhere it to my background. And then my background was just a smidge too big and I didn't want the edges kind of peeking out. So I just trimmed off a tiny little bit with my paper trimmer, and then I can adhere that branch background to the actual background. So once I've got those adhered into place, and again, when you're adhering anything on top of something that's been stenciled with like texture paste, or if you're using glitter paper, anything like that, highly recommend either using a good liquid glue like the craft tacky, or if you're using like a foam adhesive, that sort of a thing, because you're adhering on top of that like gritty texture. So frame is now held in place, so now I can create kind of my little scene. I don't know, I was just picturing these gnomes like living up in the trees, you know, a la kind of like more like elves, you know, Lord of the Rings, anyway. So I just popped them all into place with just some thin 3D foam squares. And then I also die cut, I pulled out another oldie but goodie set. This is the Simon Snow FLURRIES wafer dies. These came out ages ago. They're still available. It's still a favorite little set of mine. So I die cut those from some white cardstock and just kind of sprinkled those throughout the background as well, just to add to my little scene. So I'm using I have a second bottle of craft tacky glue. This one I have a metal tip that I just screwed onto it. Didn't have to do anything fancy, just screwed it on. I linked to that next to the glue because people have been asking about it. But yeah, this gives me super fine precision. I've been using it like this a month or two now. I forget how long it's been, but I'm really happy with it. It works great. So I adhered all my little snowflakes, and then I'm gonna add splatter because of course. So I just took some white paint, put it on my palette, swirled my brush in it, and heavily splattered this card front, like just all over, because 1, splatter, 2, snow. So this also brings out, you know, because I've got the texture grip paste, you know, snowfall grip paste with the stencil in the background, and then the actual little die cut snowflakes, and then the splatter. So I let that all dry as well. And then off camera, I had white heat embossed a sentiment from the set onto just some black cardstock. And I'm going to pop that into place with some of these little thin 3D foam squares as well as a bit of craft tacky glue, just to make sure everything stays good and adhered. So I'm going to pop that one in. So holiday wishes from our gnome to yours. Again, another reason why I love Mama Elephant. Like anything punny sentiments, I don't know why I love them so much. That and dad jokes, I'm just like, I like them. So my card base, just regular, again, Simon's smooth white cardstock. And I took the shaded Lilac Distress Oxide ink and the blending brush and just very lightly blended it right into the center of the inside of my card. This is why I love blending brushes, because I can do things like this. Like to do this with a foam blending tool, that took me a long time to even be able to do it with a foam blending tool, like practice. You know, that nice little blend that's, you know, blends off into white. But with a blending brush, no effort. Love it. So that just gave a little glow of color, you know, onto the inside. And then I just adhered my remaining my gnome and one of the little mushrooms and another little sentiment, Gnomies forever. So adhere that to the inside, and then I'm going to adhere the card front to the card base. Once this is adhered into place, this card is complete. I had so much fun making it. This set was adorable. Like I said, limited edition, like all the STAMPtember sets. I'll have a link to it. I'll have a link to the combo set, as well as all the other supplies I used in the description box below the video. I'll also have a link to my blog post, because you can always head to my blog posts, and I have like picture links and just much easier to navigate. So you can check that out below if you're interested. Thank you all so much for watching and subscribing and thumbs upping, commenting, all of it. I very much appreciate it. And I'll see you all very soon in the next video. Bye.